CTV News with Maya Johnson.
Good evening. Thank you for joining us. After years of debate, the City of Montreal has decided police officers will be equipped with body cameras. The mayor says the goal is to increase accountability and have an objective view of interactions with police. But as Kelly Gregg reports, the mayor admits it's not a perfect solution.
It's a new measure to track police interactions. 6,500 officers and 600 patrol cars will soon be equipped with cameras.
These tools can provide a more objective record of police intervention and contribute to greater transparency and accountability.
It's probably high time that we bring this level of transparency into police investigations to avoid a lot of the chatter and ambiguity that surrounds investigations when it's really just a question of one person's word against another's.
The chief saying officers will have to record interactions, and only under specific circumstances like meeting a sexual assault or child abuse victim can they turn the cameras off.
I can tell you one thing. One of our objectives, and is if we don't do it, we're going to lose the credibility. We cannot just decide, we put it on. Oh, wait, the intervention is changing, let's put it off. No. There's no way.
While body cameras were a mayoral election promise, the decision comes as the force suspended officers over allegations of racism in Montreal North.
Even at Station 39, and we have that kind of scandal, racism, and the population is asking for it. Absolutely, absolutely, we should show those videos.
The city also wants to pass a bylaw which would prevent someone from insulting or intimidating a municipal employee. In July, a man who allegedly made several derogatory videos regarding police officers was charged with libel. One of the questions the bylaw will have to address is what constitutes an interaction, an insult, or a threat, and what is the line between them.
If you tell a police officer to F off, it's probably the type of remark that could result justifiably in the issuance of a ticket. Do I agree with it? Maybe not. I think the police should be able to put up with that type of remark.
Both measures come with the chief pledging to rebuild trust with Montrealers. Is this enough to restore that confidence?
The answer is no. I mean, there's much work to be done and many conversations to have. Again, this is one of the tools, but this is not the magic tool.
The city hopes to have the first cameras in the field within the next year. Kelly Gregg, CTV News.
And later on in the newscast, we'll have reaction from a lawyer with the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. Quebec's police watchdog is looking into a car crash in Laval that killed 2 people. Early in the morning of August 5th, a driver trying to flee police smashed into a building in Laval. 2 people in that car died following the crash. Police had tried to pull over the car for highway safety code violations, and although police said they quickly gave up their pursuit because it was becoming too dangerous, the car kept speeding away. The RCMP has arrested a teen in Montreal who is believed to have possibly been planning an attack on a school. The investigation began several weeks ago following a tip from the FBI. The suspect allegedly used artificial intelligence in the potential planning of the attack. The teen was expected to appear in youth court today. Well, we are once again just hours away from a midnight deadline, this time for reaching a new trade deal to avoid Donald Trump's threat of 50% tariffs on a wide range of Canadian goods. It was another day of intense negotiations in Washington with very little information shared with the public. With the latest, here's CTV's chief political correspondent, Vashi Capellos.
Well, there are a couple of really important things from a political perspective I think we can take from what's unfolded over the past few days, even the past few hours. The very fact that the Canadian negotiating team has been engaged as long as it has with their counterparts in the United States, even since the extension of the 338 tariffs, tells you there's actually a lot left to negotiate. Despite the framing from the U.S. president as, almost a fait accompli, those details are really salient. I'm going to tell you why using one example, the steel sector, right? So baseline tariffs, we understand from our reporting and others, will go from 50% to 25%. But the U.S. intention is to impose a quota. So steel under that quota will get 25%, but over the quota will be subject again to more punishing tariffs. So what is that quota? That's what's being negotiated right now. And it's actually a really important number because it's going to help us assess the metrics and the veracity of this deal overall. The second thing I'm really focused on is the politics of all of this. And that is because there are a few interesting things germinating from these negotiations. And the first appears to be that we will accept a baseline level of tariffs. And that's not exactly something I would say that the Canadian public has been primed for by the Prime Minister. He talked a lot about getting the best deal compared to other deals, but the other deals are not great. So if ours is not great, but not the worst, is that enough to land with Canadians who haven't really been primed for the possibility that it might not be that great of a deal at all? I think that's really a challenge for the Prime Minister when the mood of the public, as public opinion polling shows, is so much geared to not wanting to concede more to the president, to stand up to the president. How is he going to kind of reconcile those things if, in fact, the deal appears to be what it is and there is a baseline level of tariffs that remain? That's a big political vulnerability for him moving forward. Vashi Capellas, CTV News, Ottawa.
And perhaps an unexpected consequence of the trade war, Schwartz's has had to move on from a popular menu item. The Cott brand of black cherry soda is no longer available at the deli. The general manager says the cost of aluminum is too expensive, so it has turned to a local product instead. Matt Grillo has more.
It's an iconic Montreal staple, Schwartz's smoked meat sandwich, and for decades, so many customers paired it with Cott black cherry soda. But General Manager Frank Silva says those days are gone.
The distributor told me that they're no longer producing it, and that was back in March, I think, because of the cost of aluminum.
He assumes tariffs on aluminum are to blame. Refresco, the company that owns Cott, did not reply to our request for comment. Black cherry soda is a big seller at Schwartz's. Silva says he would order 100 cases of 12 cans a week.
It was too costly. I mean, Cott used to have cola, apple nectar, ginger ale. Used to have all those products before in the 80s when I started. But then it wasn't selling, so canceled. Then it was only black cherry. But now, Schwartz is probably the only place I was selling substantial numbers of black cherry.
Like so many businesses during this trade war, Schwartz's has had to pivot. It's now serving black cherry soda from a local company.
We got something called Fletcher's black cherry, which is local. Tastes very good. Some people think it tastes better.
It's just as good, just as nice. I thoroughly enjoyed it. I'd say it's a little more subtle than the Cotts, but it's still just as good.
Silva admits some customers would come just for the black cherry soda.
I was tied to the brand till it's not anymore. So now people don't stop coming to Schwartz's because black cherry is not here. They still come in.
Because it's all about the smoked meat.
As long as you have smoked meat, it's okay.
It's the priority.
That's a priority.
He admits if Cott becomes available again, Schwartz's will bring it back. But the deli would have 2 black cherry colas on the menu and let the customer decide. Matt Grillo, CTV News.
Starting in December, Quebec pharmacists will be given new responsibilities. They'll be able to test for common illnesses and refill prescriptions without consulting a doctor. Here's Matt Gilmore with the details and some of the concerns.
Pharmacist Judith Choquette is busy getting her pharmacy in Longueuil ready for major changes.
We have the computer. We have a place to actually discuss with the patient.
Private consultation rooms could soon be the new norm for pharmacies. Starting December 9th, pharmacists will be allowed to screen for common illnesses and, in some cases, prescribe medications.
I know exactly how to treat you. I know exactly which antibiotics I could give you. But right now, I cannot do that.
In December, she will. She'll also be able to refill certain prescriptions and adjust medications without sending patients back to a doctor.
We have a lot of orphan patients, we call them, and this new measure will help us to help those patients. And when we feel the patient should see a doctor, then we refer them to the 811 service.
The government hopes that will speed up the process. It's welcome news for patients' advocates.
We need to multiply the healthcare givers for all services and care that patients need. This is how we're going to reduce the pressure.
But family doctor Michael Kalin has concerns.
Now you have somebody diagnosing you with a condition and then selling you the medicine indefinitely. Doctors can't do that. Nurse practitioners can't do that.
The Order of Pharmacists does have strict rules and oversight powers that both Choquette and Brunet believe will prevent abuse.
I trust the order that such surveillance will be held.
We're professionals. We can recommend a treatment. We will recommend the best treatment. I don't think it is going to be a problem.
Not all pharmacies will be ready to provide these additional services on December 9th. Many will have to make major operational changes, and finding qualified staff is a challenge. Matt Gilmore, CTV News.
Parti Québécois leader Paul Saint-Pierre Plamondon confirmed today that a PQ government would scrap Santé Québec. Plamondon says a PQ government would use the money spent on Santé Québec and invest it directly into hospitals and the healthcare system. Santé Québec was created in 2024. The healthcare management agency became the sole employer of staff in the Health and Social Services Network. According to Plamondon, the bureaucracy is getting out of control.
Not about reforming, but reducing the size of the number of people deciding the same thing. So we're going to decentralize, abolish Santé Québec, and make sure that there are less bureaucracy and people managing the same thing, because we've just been through a rise of 900 employees to manage the exact same health network while the services are not improving. So it's just going to be a reduced size and a more coherent and decentralized system.
Meanwhile, Santé Québec says it's been successful in acquiring new land to expand and upgrade Maisonneuve-Rosemont Hospital. The provincial agency says it bought the land for $30 million, meaning renovations announced earlier this year can now go ahead. That renovation project is expected to last 10 years. The Liberal Party leader is in Quebec talking about small businesses. Charles Milliard says if elected, a Liberal government would make changes to how contracts are awarded and how quickly companies are paid. He also pledged to get rid of a law that forces the government to accept the lowest bidder, saying all too often that means accepting the worst quality material that breaks down quickly.
Long run, it will prevent us from redoing stuff or rebuying stuff earlier because it was cheaper. So obviously we're going to be providing more studies and more data on that, but I think the signal needs to be clear. A Liberal government will end this rule, and it's pretty good news for SMEs throughout Quebec.
Meantime, the Quebec Conservative Party says it's planning deep cuts in government spending if elected in October. Leader Éric Duhaime says the party would cut $47 billion in government programs, including subsidies and loans to businesses. The party would also cut 20,000 government positions, mainly through attrition.
Well, basically, we're going to cut grants to corporations over a 3-year period. That's $20 billion saved right there, 20 out of 47. The second part is controlling expenses. So looking at the programs, we keep adding programs and programs and programs in Quebec without never, evaluating, are they working? Are they worth it? Are they redundant?
Pouliot is running for the Conservatives in Montreal's Darcy McGee riding. We have more election coverage on our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. And a former Montreal Alouettes coach and player is entering federal politics. Luc Brodeur-Jourdain was an offensive line coach for the team and spent 11 seasons as an offensive lineman for the Alouettes. He's hoping to become the Conservative Party candidate for the upcoming federal by-election in Saint-Hyacinthe-Bagot-Acton. Brodeur-Jourdain says he wants to represent the region where he was born and raised. There's a tick-borne illness on the rise that's more serious than Lyme disease. Quebec's top spreader of Lyme disease, the deer tick, is also spreading something called anaplasmosis. Early symptoms are similar to flu symptoms, but the disease can also lead to organ failure and brain damage, with more than 40% of cases leading to hospitalization. Scientific advisor Kirsten Crandall says efforts are underway to deal with the spread.
You have to learn to adapt, and that's why putting in place those preventative measures, making them part of your routine, especially if you're in high-risk areas. I live in a high-risk area. If I've been outdoors, every time I come back in, I just do one quick examination, because the quicker we do those different preventative measures, and if we do that exam at the end of an activity, the quicker those ticks can be taken off, and really that's how to prevent acquiring these different diseases.
Almost all of the cases were reported in the eastern townships and in the Montérégie. West Island commuters will soon have an easier time finding parking spots at some REM stations. Pierrefonds Roxborough Borough Mayor Jim Bay says the Sunnybrook REM station will soon have another 120 free parking spaces. Another 200 parking spots will be available at the Pierrefonds Roxborough station by the end of the month, and that brings the total number of parking spots at those two stations to almost 1,300. Major work will be taking place on the Champlain Bridge over the weekend. The southbound lanes of the Champlain close tonight at 11 p.m. and will reopen Monday morning. There are detours, and it's expected to be congested if you're trying to get to Nuns Island. The closure will also affect a number of exits and entry ramps around the Turcotte interchange, including Highway 20 eastbound heading toward the 15 and the De la Vérendrye entrance from the 15 south. We have full details on our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca. Coming up, an alleged confession under scrutiny.
He's lying in one area, maybe he's lying in others.
Conflicting accounts as Tupac Shakur's murder trial plays out in a Las Vegas courtroom 30 years after he was killed. And royal watchers abuzz after a financial and legal blow for Prince Harry just days after the announcement of a surprise royal return to the UK. Officials in Sweden say a man with a sword injured 3 people at a high school northwest of Stockholm. Police say a suspect was later arrested. The Swedish public broadcaster reported that person is an 18-year-old former student with a past assault conviction. The school of 450 students had just reopened after summer break. 2 men were stabbed during morning prayers at a Sikh temple in Edmonton.
Occasion took place, he interrupted the morning prayer service. So the people who were doing the morning prayer service, they were able to subdue the guy.
The World Sikh Organization says the 2 priests who intervened were attacked with a screwdriver. A 27-year-old man was arrested at the scene. Police say the suspect had just been released from a federal prison on Thursday. An investigation is underway to determine if the incident was hate-motivated. Canada, the UK, and Australia are denouncing Israel's decision not to pursue criminal charges over a military strike that killed aid workers in Gaza. Montrealer Jacob Flickinger was among those killed in 2024 when a convoy of World Central Kitchen vehicles were hit. The aid worker was a military veteran from Quebec City. This week, Israel concluded its military mistakenly identified the works as Hamas operatives, but that it was not criminal. We're wrapping up the first week of Tupac Shakur's murder trial. The rap icon was shot and killed in Las Vegas in 1996. Jurors heard testimony from multiple witnesses this week and a recording that prosecutors say was a murder confession from Dwayne Keefe Davis. ABC's Jacqueline Lee has more.
Jurors in the Tupac Shakur murder trial heard testimony from multiple witnesses Friday after hearing an alleged confession from Dwayne Keefe Davis the day before. Jurors sat for hours on Thursday listening to a 2008 recording from LAPD detectives where they alleged Davis admitted to involvement in Shakur's murder.
And all the girls were going crazy on the corner.
And today, a second recording, this time from 2009, was played, where prosecutors say Davis once again admitted to being in the car and providing the gun that was used to shoot and kill Shakur. In the recordings, he was heard telling the LAPD and later Las Vegas police that he gave the gun to a man named Dre, who was too scared to fire, and then the gun was given to Davis's nephew, Orlando Anderson, who fired.
Who got shoot?
Orlando. Dre wouldn't shoot, so Orlando said, give me your shoot.
Okay. So
when Davis spoke with LAPD, he was under an immunity deal called a proffer agreement, in which he was told the information would not be used against him in exchange for giving police information. But prosecutors say that proffer agreement was invalidated when Davis told and retold that version of events not only to Las Vegas police, but also went public with his admission and even published a book about being involved in the murder.
They're looking also at the differences of how these crimes and these instances are articulated through the proffer agreement, the interviews, the book. And the defense is going to do a thing of trying to show that if he's lying in one area, maybe he's lying in others.
Davis's defense attorneys claim his statements were lies, that he did not write that book to sell books, and that there is no evidence to back up the statements he made so many years ago. Jacqueline Lee, ABC News, Los Angeles.
As questions remain over what Prince Harry and Meghan Markle's future will look like after a move back to the UK, we're learning Harry and 6 other defendants have to pay millions to the publisher of the Daily Mail in a case they lost over alleged illegal news gathering. Perry Ressam has that story.
Days after a surprise royal return was announced for Prince Harry and Duchess Meghan, Harry and 6 other defendants, including Elton John, learning they must pay an initial £9.5 million, nearly $13 million, by the end of the month. The money will go to Associated Newspapers, which publishes the Daily Mail, after Harry and others lost a case over alleged invasion of privacy. Privacy is a key focus for the Sussexes, who are now working with the UK's media regulator, asking outlets to respect their need for privacy regarding where they will be living and where their children will go to school. According to The Telegraph, Harry and Meghan, along with their 2 children, are planning to move later this month to a private non-royal residence outside London. The paper reports the children are already enrolled in British schools for next month. A source familiar with the matter says there are no plans for them to return as working royals, but there are now reports Meghan could be making a return to acting after they move back to the UK. The Sussexes team is not commenting.
It kind of sheds maybe a bit more light on perhaps their reasonings for wanting to come here, a factor in that decision making, and also sheds more light on the kind of thing that Meghan could be doing while she is here.
The couple left the royal life in 2020 and moved to California. Relations with the family strained. While the royal family has stayed publicly silent about the return, some of the British public is sounding off.
Maybe he's just truly British at the end of the day and he just misses home.
Harry lost his automatic police protection when he stepped down from his royal duties. He challenged that in court. British Prime Minister Annie Burnham says the couple's security will be a private matter. Perry Russell, ABC News, New York.
Still to come, a rude awakening for runners.
It shouldn't happen in a race like this, especially a Canadian Championship race.
The fallout from a major mistake at an Edmonton marathon. Plus, an Ottawa mother speaking out after an incident involving an Uber Eats driver and her 12-year-old daughter.
Download the CTV News app and stay on top of local stories as they unfold.
Increasing number of abandoned buildings.
Customize your feed and watch live wherever you are. CTVMontreal.ca, your home for news.
And we go back now to our top story. Montreal police officers are going to be equipped with body cameras. Supporters say it's a tool that can increase accountability and provide an objective view of interactions with police. But there are some concerns, including about privacy. Joining us now is Tamir Israel, a lawyer with the Canadian Civil Liberties Association. Thank you for your time today. And I'll start with just a basic question, which is where your association stands on the use of body cameras.
Thanks so much for having me on today. Body-worn cameras do offer some potential to increase police accountability, but they need to be brought in with a very rigorous framework to ensure that those accountability promises are lived up to. We've regrettably seen in multiple jurisdictions that if the use of these accountability tools isn't accompanied by very strict and binding rules around how the footage is being used, like when it could be released, when the cameras need to be turned on, then the accountability promises that the tool is supposed to provide just aren't realized on the one hand. And on the other hand, we're increasingly seeing police services using these tools more as just another way of surveying the public rather than as the accountability tool that they're supposed to be. So we have these two sets of concerns around the adoption of body-worn cameras.
Absolutely. So, other jurisdictions, as you mentioned, have already been doing this, and there are lessons to be learned from the experience so far, because Montreal is, certainly not ahead of other Canadian cities in getting to this point.
Yeah, Montreal, I mean, there's been lots of calls for this, for adoption body-worn cameras in Montreal for many years, and they've been very slow to adopt. Unfortunately, we haven't seen so far from the announcement from the city that the types of requirements that we would need to see that we know need to be there to make these tools actually work in terms of providing the accountability measures that they're supposed to provide are going to be in place. So, for example, we've seen in other jurisdictions that, if there aren't very clear and enforceable rules about when police officers need to turn the cameras on, it becomes very inconsistent. Sometimes some police officers won't turn them on at all. Sometimes police will turn them off when problematic incidents start happening. We've also seen that if the footage is not independently controlled by an entity, the way that police will often be very hesitant to release it to the people involved in incidents, and will often even have provided selectively edited clips from footage that don't provide an accurate picture of what's happening.
Okay. And you also mentioned the idea of surveillance and that being a concern. And of course, the technology is evolving so quickly. I mean, for example, I was reading on your website earlier that Edmonton police are planning to test facial recognition on live video feeds from their body cameras. So, how does AI play a role in all of this, and what are the potential pitfalls?
Yeah, there are a number. So we're really concerned by Edmonton Police's announcement that it is piloting the use of controversial technology, facial recognition, on its cameras. The facial recognition as a technology, it does have a lot of errors and associated with it at times, as do many of the AI tools that are being layered onto video surveillance capabilities. And there's a potential for really hazardous situations to arise, especially when a live camera feed, like body-worn cameras, is being used in conjunction with these technologies. So we had an example just a few months ago in the US where it wasn't on a body-worn camera, but it was a live camera feed from a static video network that was trying to identify, that was designed to identify threatening behavior, raised the flag that someone was walking out of a grocery store with a gun, and then within very short period of time, this teenager was surrounded by 8 or so police cars with guns drawn out, and it turned out that the gun was actually a candy bar. The AI tool had made a mistake. Thankfully, the teenager who was also wasn't hurt in this incident. But you can see how if we're moving towards a world where police have a live video feed with all these analytical tools that are not as reliable as sometimes they're presented to be, are providing real-time information to police, it could create some real threatening situations for the public, if not brought in with the proper safeguards and restrictions.
Okay. Very interesting, and obviously we're going to be keeping a close eye on the developments, because it is something that Montreal has been talking about for years. All right, Tamir Israel, thank you again for your time today. We really do appreciate it.
Thanks so much for having me on.
An Ottawa mother is speaking out after an incident involving an Uber Eats driver earlier this month. She says a man returned to her home repeatedly after a delivery to drop off bags filled with treats and money for her 12-year-old daughter. CTV's Katie Griffin reports.
It was an unexpected discovery that has this mom on edge.
It's very unnerving. I have not been able to sleep.
Without her knowing, this woman's 12-year-old daughter ordered Uber Eats during a sleepover with a friend after midnight, August 3rd. She'd used her Mido card, a money app for kids to spend and learn how to budget, to open an account.
She ordered Wendy's Frosties, and the delivery driver came in, dropped it off, and then about an hour later, we got somebody was knocking on the door and rang the doorbell, and they found that there was a brown paper bag that said her name was addressed to her and said, "From your secret admirer," and it had candy in it.
They didn't know who it was from, but installed security cameras the next night. Then almost 2 weeks later, on August 16th,
we found another package that was addressed to her, and inside had candy, a $20 bill, and a note that said, "To her name, from your secret admirer," with a phone number on it. And we looked at our cameras and we saw that it was an older man.
Her daughter identified him as the delivery driver and discovered the same white car had passed by their home in Canada multiple times in the overnight hours.
He asked for her number to verify it was her, and she said, "Do you really need that?" And he said, "Well, you could either give me your number or you could give me the last 4 digits." And then he also told her and her friend that they looked very mature.
In a statement, an Uber spokesperson says this behavior is unacceptable and has no place on the Uber platform. "We take reports like this extremely seriously, and as soon as it was reported, the delivery person's access to the app was removed." Ottawa police are investigating.
I think it's really important for parents to know and to talk to their kids so it doesn't happen to anybody else.
Katie Griffin, CTV News.
Weather brought to you by Gratian Scaff. Second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for limited time.
Well, I am live from the Imagine Monkland Street Festival, and until Sunday, Monkland Avenue from Giroir to Melrose is closed to cars and open to live music, games, and food. And the people are coming out. 100,000 people are expected to pass through over the course of this weekend. We spoke with spokesperson Mark Shrieky, and he said one of the best parts of the festival has to do with what it does for the locals. Let's listen.
Love the local artists. The music is excellent here at the show every year, and especially this year. We're partnered with the Wheel Club in NDG, who helps us to source local artists, and we have a fantastic lineup of shows of all different styles for the public.
So the festival runs from 10 a.m. to 10 p.m. tonight, and also on Sunday, though it closes a little bit earlier at 7 p.m. on Sunday. And here's what you're looking at weather-wise if you're thinking of coming out. For now, we're seeing a temperature of 24 degrees in the Montreal area. We did have that expected high, a little bit warmer, though, sitting at 26 degrees for the day. But we are looking at some warmer weather ahead, at least for Saturday. It's going to start with a low 14 degrees tonight, along with clear skies. For tomorrow morning, we're expecting a wake-up temperature of 16, sunny skies to start, and then we are seeing just a few clouds rolling into the afternoon, but the mercury should be up to a high of 27 degrees by then. But again, Saturday is expected to be the better day this weekend. That is what our futurecast is showing us. We start to see those clouds coming in at around 4 p.m. on Saturday. And then jump to Sunday, seeing a very different picture. We have an 85% chance of roughly 8 millimeters coming in, and that could potentially carry through to the start of next week. So on Monday, we're looking at a 60% chance of up to 4 millimeters, along with thunder showers. So be sure to have that rain gear with you if you're headed out. Good news come the middle of the week. Tuesday and Wednesday, we are seeing a return to mixes of sun and clouds to varying degrees. On Tuesday, we're expecting a mostly cloudy day with a high of 22, and Wednesday is looking warmer with a high of 25 and that mix of sun and clouds. Now, on Thursday and Friday, looking like another return to some thunder showers. So we have a 60% chance of roughly 4 millimeters coming in. That would be along with a warmer temperature, so a high of 26. On Friday, looking like a temperature of 24 and a 70% chance of those showers sticking around. And a quick reminder that tonight, Lotto Max is offering a jackpot of $55 million plus 4 Max Millions plus 55 times $100,000. And you can buy your ticket in-store or online. Good luck.
For some runners, years of training came down to one race in Edmonton and a chance to qualify for the Boston Marathon. But a major mistake with the course may have put that dream out of reach. Kathy Lee explains what went wrong.
Mitch Walls is back on track, recovering after a marathon in Edmonton on Sunday that went very much off course.
At the turnaround on the back half, I noticed something was a little bit off.
He was right. Organizers initially insisted the route was properly measured, but now acknowledge it was about 675 meters too long. The event drew some 10,000 participants from around the world, the mistake impacting both the full and half marathon. Walls was on pace to hit his goal until the longer distance added more than 3 minutes to his time, potentially costing him a shot at the Boston Marathon, one of the most prestigious races in the world.
That was instantly deflating. It's unfortunate, for sure. It shouldn't happen in a race like this, especially a Canadian Championship race.
And this women's half marathon winner from Ontario was close to breaking the Canadian record, but the added meters left her wondering how close she might have come.
That was my first half marathon debut, so I know I've got plenty more attempts to have a go at the record in the future.
As for Boston, the Athletic Association says it will accept Edmonton's official finishing times, but won't accept times adjusted to account for the extra distance. Edmonton Marathon says recognizing runners' results is a top priority, and it's determining how this year's results can be recognized for qualifying times. Also adding that it's working to make sure a mistake like this doesn't happen again. The distance may have missed the mark, but Walls says the race itself didn't.
Love the course, love the volunteers.
He'll never know if he would have qualified for Boston, but believes the added length hurt his chances. But he's not giving up.
I got lots left in the tank.
Planning to take another run at his dream. Kathy Lee, CTV News, Airdrie, Alberta.
Still ahead, trade tensions and travel plans.
We're supporters of Canada and America, and we just hope everything can all work out for the best for everybody.
The latest numbers on cross-border travel in the era of Trump tariffs. Plus, health habits. How to know if it's time to get your cholesterol checked.
Your Health, brought to you by Gratian Scaff. Second pair is a gift event including designer frames. A second pair free for a limited time.
You may be living a healthy lifestyle and feeling fit, but you may also be overdue for a cholesterol check. With more, here's Melissa Adan.
Cholesterol is a substance that comes from food and is also made by your body. It's necessary for life, but too much of a good thing can be bad for your health. New guidelines from the American Heart Association and the American College of Cardiology say all adults should get tested at least every 5 years to make sure a blockage caused by too much cholesterol is not starting to build up in the arteries, elevating the risk for heart attack and stroke. A major change in the new release is that medicine should start in people as young as 30 years old and can continue as old as 79 years old. Experts hope that these updates can help make progress against the heart conditions that have long been the country's leading cause of death. If your cholesterol levels put you in the red zone, your doctor may recommend changes to diet and exercise and possibly a medication to help lower your levels. With this Medical Minute, I'm Melissa Adan.
There are reports the U.S. Drug Enforcement Administration has joined the investigation into the death of actress Hayden Panettiere. The 36-year-old actress was found unresponsive Sunday at an apartment in South Carolina after her boyfriend and his brother called 911. Paramedics found her in cardiac arrest. An autopsy found no signs of trauma, while toxicology testing is still pending. Authorities say it could take weeks to determine a cause of death.
Business News, brought to you by Au Vieux de Loup. Generous and delicious plates all the time.
Statistics Canada says retail sales were up in June. BNN Bloomberg's Morella Fernandez has more.
Sales hit just over $74 billion in June, with general merchandise retailers getting the biggest boost. Clothing and jewelry retail also popped, up 3% month to month, but lower grocery purchases brought food and beverage retail down. Now in dollar amount, Ontario had the highest sales in June, Alberta the lowest. E-commerce sales were up almost 10% that month, hitting $5.7 billion. Roots will go private. Marquee Brands is partnering with JM and A Design to buy the iconic Canadian retailer for $4.10 a share. That's a 36% premium to the share price at the end of March, when Roots began exploring options to sell. Marquee already owns the Laura Ashley and BCBG brands. Reuters is reporting the CEO of Volkswagen saying deep cost cuts are needed to keep the car manufacturer in business. The German company is considering cutting tens of thousands of jobs or some divisions. Chinese competition in Europe and U.S. import tariffs have led to declining profits for VW. Here are the closing numbers for the day. The Canadian dollar is down to 72.63 U.S. West Texas Intermediate up to 87.06 U.S. a barrel. Western Canadian Select is up to 67.66. And the TSX gained 254 points today. Those are your business headlines. I'm Morella Fernandez.
Despite trade tensions, new numbers show cross-border travel is starting to take off again in both directions. Maria Saru spoke to tourists in PEI about politics and their travel plans.
An Anne of Green Gables magnet and a souvenir mug are on the wish list for the Battaglias from Boston, spending their summer and tourism dollars on PEI.
We love the friendly people. It's just lovely here.
The political climate we don't necessarily agree with what's happening between the States and Canada, so we'd like to support our friends up in Canada.
At the Cavendish Boardwalk, there are license plates from as far as Tennessee, with visitors getting a taste of the island. This mother and daughter from New York hope the goodwill goes both ways.
We're supporters of Canada and America, and we just hope everything can all work out for the best for everybody.
According to Statistics Canada's June numbers, more Americans are traveling north. Visits were up just over 6% from last year, marking the 5th straight month of growth. At the same time, more Canadians are going south. Return trips rose 5%, continuing a 3-month turnaround.
There's a bit of a thawing, I would say. We're more open to it. I think just a feeling that we're missing out of all these great attractions and activities in the US.
I want to go sometimes to New York to visit things that we can't see where we're from.
There's lots of places that I'd love to visit in the United States. Take the girls to Disney World. That'd be a lot of fun.
Maybe the beaches in California.
Others aren't convinced.
I wouldn't do it in a million years. There's no real reason to go down south at the moment.
The boardwalk here is still busy with visitors from both countries, but even as the numbers climb, Canadian travel to the U.S. is still well below 2024 levels before political and trade tensions escalated. Maria Saru, CTV News, Cavendish, Prince Edward Island.
Dawson College has a new director general, and Angela, he is speaking out about the effects of a law that limits the number of students that can attend English CEGEPs.
Well, Maya will speak to Toby Harper-Merritt about the fallout of Law 14, which many may remember as Bill 96. It caps the number of students that can attend English language CEGEPs, but combined with some of the CAQ's immigration reforms, it's contributing to overcrowding in some schools. And Maya, we're also keeping an eye on the looming midnight tariff deadline imposed by Donald Trump. And we'll have more from the Imagine Monkland Street Festival in NDG coming up at 11:30. Maya?
All right, thank you very much, Angela. Up next, a Quebec-born researcher leading a unique scientific mission in the Arctic.
For breaking news and local news that matters to you, download the CTV News app right now by scanning the QR code on your screen using your smartphone. Or you can also go to our website, ctvnewsmontreal.ca.
12 researchers are set to intentionally freeze a workstation in the Arctic ice and drift for 8 long months, all in the name of science. And a Quebec-born researcher is leading this unique mission. CTV's Gary Barrett explains.
The 26-meter-long Terra polar station is home for now for Quebec-born researcher Maxime Geoffroy, a scientist with the Marine Institute in St. John's. He and his team of 11 other sailors are in Norway tonight for last-minute preparations before a trip of a lifetime.
So it seems like it's going to be the start of something that is a bit nerve-wracking. In reality, I think it will be a bit of relief that finally we reached it.
Soon they'll drive their vessel deep into the Arctic ice and will drift at the mercy of the ice flows while conducting environmental research on the ice in the ocean.
In that sense, we're like astronauts that have been trained to collect data and do science for many other groups.
It'll be 8 months before Geoffroy and his team will get replaced by a second team of scientists and get to go home.
That would be first as well. So that's learning how to navigate and cope with this and do good science in this kind of environment. To me, is quite exciting.
The expedition is run by the Terra Ocean Foundation. The entirety of the boat's trip through the Arctic ice is expected to take more than a year. The journey aiming to study the place most hard hit by climate change, mapping the ice, the snow, the plankton underneath, and the gases in the sky.
The climate is kind of accelerating, climate change, and I think the Arctic is is where they have the answer of what's going to be the fate of the future.
It took many tests to ensure the crew were capable of what will be a taxing and demanding trip. They'll spend more than 4 months in polar night with very little exposure to the sun. Geoffroy says as a boy from northern Quebec, he's maybe a bit more prepared than most for the cold, the dark, and the thrill of this journey. Garrett Berry, CTV News, St. John's.
We go back now to Anastasia in Monkland at that festival, and weather-wise, we're off to a good start this weekend.
That's right, Maya. We may want to revel in this because we're looking at a bit of a different picture by the end of this weekend. But for now, looking good in the skies. And here's what we have coming for the rest of the evening. We're looking at a low of now 15 degrees overnight. Expecting those skies to be clear as we head into tomorrow morning. For tomorrow, looking at a wake-up temperature of 16 degrees, a sunny start to the day, and then we start to see those clouds coming in as the mercury moves up, though, to a high of 27. And then by Sunday, we are looking at a chance of thunder showers. So that could bring up to 8 millimeters on Sunday, could also bring another 4 millimeters on Monday. So reason to come out and enjoy outdoor activities if you can. Maya?
Thanks, Anastasia. And thank you, as always, for tuning in. Have a great evening and a wonderful weekend.